שותפים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. Here we go. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שותפים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שותפים גם יחד. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, folks in the sanctuary, let's hear you, really hear you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Excellent. And folks who are tuning in from wherever you are, let's hear you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good. It's a little strange to be speaking to your computer like that, but we hear you sort of, but we hear you in spirit. Friends, it is such a beautiful day to come together as a family, as a community, for not only a Shabbat morning service, but a Banot mitzvah, 2 bat mitzvah, a Banot mitzvah for Ruby, for Emerson, for your families, for this entire community. It is something that we would celebrate in normal times, like really celebrate. But with the events of the week and with the events of the year, this is especially joyful, especially sweet. So thank you for providing us this opportunity for uplift and connection. Friends who are in the sanctuary, we are using this red Siddur, which you'll have, and I'll call out page numbers. Friends who are not in the sanctuary, your service is posted on the Facebook page, and you can follow along, and we'll call out the page numbers for that as well. This is a happy, clappy, touchy-feely service, meaning anytime that you can snap, clap, la la la, sing, whatever it's going to, whatever you can do, please do it. We will feel that energy. Emerson and Ruby will feel that energy and send it right back to us. God understands la 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 just fine. If you are joining us online, will you please send a shout out to each of these amazing young women and their families, wishing them a mazel tov and a Shabbat Shalom. And finally, friends, we're going to be present. That's the name of the game. Just be present. Be present, be open as we watch these two amazing cousins lead us in prayer, lead us in as a community, lead us in sacred connection.
הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים.
שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. So, Emerson, Ruby, there are signposts along the way this morning of your rite of passage. In the next 90 minutes, you're going to go from being a Jewish girl to being a Jewish woman in the eyes of your community. It's pretty nuts, right? The next 90 minutes. One of the signposts along the way is the presentation of the Talit, which is going to be done by Michael and Tommy Ann, your aunt and uncle. And as we go through and present your Talit, know that this is adult Jewish clothing. The tradition is, as of yesterday, don't put it on her quite yet, as of yesterday or even an hour ago, you weren't allowed to wear your tallis publicly. That's a privilege reserved for adults in the Jewish community. But with Tommy Ann and Michael's blessing and your donning of the talit led by your moms and dad, you are going to join us as a rightful adult in the eyes of 4,000 years of Jewish tradition. So Michael and Tommy Ann, go ahead on page 5.
May the voices of the generations speak to you. May you know
Okay, very good. And now you're going to say the blessings over the talit when you're ready.
Emerson.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit.
And we say amen.
Amen.
Okay, and Mom and Dad are going to wrap the talit around her. Okay.
And Ruby.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit.
And we say amen.
Amen.
Okay, and Sally, fix her hair. So, family, arms around each other up there, please. Lou, extend your arms over both. Okay? We know that families come together for all sorts of reasons. Some sad, this one super joyful. Under this mask, smiling ear to ear. And when we Jews know we're experiencing a certain type of time, a certain sacredness of time, we say the Shehachianu prayer. Literally, thank you, God, for allowing us to be here, breathing together. May we have this type of sacredness, this type of moment together again and again and again. Please join us for Shehachianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehatzilanu v'kimanu v'higianu b'zman hazeh. We sing amen together. Ah, 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 amen.
Beautiful. Okay, Emerson and Ruby, you're going to lead us on page 6.
God be with me on this occasion of my bat mitzvah.
Help me make meaningful the covenant you now establish with me.
Sustain me with a sense of holiness. Inspire in me a desire to be special.
I do not ask that you make my life easy, resolve my problems, map out the directions of my life.
I ask only that you strengthen within me the desire to mold and shape my life in accordance with your will.
In this hour of my bat mitzvah, I invoke your blessings upon my parents and friends, and who all have loved and cared for me, and have brought me through this time of gladness.
Give them joy and fulfillment in my growth and my achievement, you who turn the hearts of children to their parents and the hearts of parents to their children.
Beautiful. So in a moment, ladies, you're going to lead us on page 7 with Nasim B'chol Yom, prayer for daily miracles. And you can see that the Hebrew is on the right, the English on the left, the transliteration in the middle for those who want to follow along. We respond with an amen. Each prayer is meant to be both taken literally and metaphorically. So when we're saying, when we're acknowledging the miracle of God who gives sight to the blind, perhaps we're talking about those who literally are gained sight or hearing when they didn't already have it, but also metaphor. Right? Sometimes people are blind to the ways of the world or what's right in front of them. And it is miraculous when they are granted the gift of seeing. So each one is meant to be literal and metaphorical. What I would ask everybody here to do as we're going through is to see which one of these Nasim B'chol Yom, daily miracles, has your name on it this morning. Which one is calling out to you? Which one do you feel most in your kishkas? All right. Lead us, please.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lasvi bina lehavin ben yom uben laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokei akivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kafufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokei haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamehin mitzadei gaver.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish harumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten le'af koach.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir shana ma'anai utnuma ma'afapai.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shiyitzani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani bat chorin.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shiyitzani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'givura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oti Yisrael b'tifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
So take a moment just to look back on what we've just chanted. Which one of those, as if I was going to call on you, which one of those has the most meaningful for you this morning, the Shabbat morning? Page 13.
Emerson, whenever you're ready, please lead us and Ruby too responsively.
May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for fellowship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of the sorry, I had to sneeze. May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit indifference, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. We rise, everybody, for Bar Hu, which can be found on page 15. Bar Hu means that we are warmed up, we are ready, we are in the zone. And here we go.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la la. Ya la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Ruby, in a moment, you're going to lead us on page 15 with Yotzer Or. Ruby, Yotzer Or is a prayer that celebrates, acknowledges, celebrates, is mindful of two things. One is creation in the beginning, that we are here at all. But that's kind of a big concept to get our heads around with real gratitude. We can do it, but it's hard. Easier, perhaps, and no less profound is this idea in the prayer that every morning that you wake up, you and we have a chance to start again. We are not locked into yesterday and yesterday's yesterday. Every day that we awake, we have the choice, we have the chance to create ourselves and the world around us anew. That empowers us. It enables us to do the very best that we can without being locked in to our history, personal history. Page 15.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarei hoshech oseh shalom uvarei et hakol hameir la'aretz v'ladarim alea brachamim uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamir ma'aseh breshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita, mala ha'aretz kininecha. Titbarach Adonai, Eloheinu al shibach ma'aseh yedecha, ve'al me'orei, or she'asita, yifa'aruha selah, or hadash al Tzion Ta'ir, v'nitzkeh kulanu mahera le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer u'me'orot.
Amen. And Emerson, in a moment, you'll lead us on page 16 with Ahava Rabbah. Emerson, the prayer Ahava talks about God's abundant love. And as you look around this sanctuary, you see the abundant love that you have, that Ruby has, your incredible family that loves and supports you. But this is not all. Dayenu, like it's more than that. You've got this incredible community which loves and supports you and Ruby. Okay? And not just in these moments, but as you go through these years in your life. But that's not all. Dayenu. This prayer talks about God's abundant love for you, and Ruby, for you too. Okay? God's abundant love, that when you make the list in your head of all those who love and care about you, this prayer reminds you that on that list, somewhere on that list, whether you are conscious of it or not, God has abundant love for you always. Will you lead us, please, on page 16?
Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chemla Gedola V'Teira, Hamalta Aleinu, Ba'avor Avotenu V'Imotenu, Shabbatchu V'ha, Vatlamdem, Hukei Ha'im, Ken Techonenu, Utlamdenu, Hamrachem, Rachem Aleinu, V'Tein Belibenu, Lehavin ulhaskil, lishmoa lilmod ulelamed, lishmor vela'asot ulkayem, et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha ba'ava, Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael ba'avara.
And we all get ready, feeling our feet on the floor for the Shema. You've said the Shema, each of you, many times. It was the first prayer that you probably learned as a Jew, as a child. You'll say it many, many times throughout your life. Traditionally, it's the last prayer the Jew says and hears before they pass. This Shema is one that you will remember for the rest of your lives. Here we go.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
We can be seated. In a moment, we'll continue on page 18 with the V'ahavta, which is a continuation of the Shema. Ruby and Emerson, V'ahavta prayer is one that poses a particular question in its text. And the question is, when is it that we're supposed to do the right thing? When is it that we're supposed to lead with the very best of our Jewish values and tradition? When is it that we're supposed to be aware and conscious of the divine in our lives? And the answer that's given is both a great answer and not such a great answer. The answer that's given is, well, when you're sitting down, and when you're standing up, and when you're at home, and when you're on the way. In other words, always. Okay, that's a pretty good answer, except for it is really hard, nigh impossible, to do something mindful of that import always. It's hard to always be aware of something. And so what this prayer of V'ahavta does, it reminds us that we have reminders. You've got your tzitzit. You've got your mezuzahs on your doors. You've got the Judaica in your house and on your lives. You've got your Jewish customs and holidays and traditions and schools, right? All of these things are reminders that you have something incredible that you are a part of, that you can tap into any time, if only you would look and see and be open. Friends, V'ahavta, page 18.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ולכך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Okay, Max and Henry, come on up. You're going to lead us in the responsive reading on 19. So you'll read the regular text, and then we're all going to respond with the italicized parts in a nice booming voice. Go ahead, guys.
Adonai, our God, you took us out of slavery in Egypt. You made us free.
You were in the courage with which we overcame 40 years of desert wandering.
Even today, you are in the hope that, like a beam of light, brightens the darkness of suffering and despair.
You are in the love that creates, protects, forgives.
Standing at the seas, we felt your goodness and your love, and we sang a new song to you. And still today, we sing that song.
We praise you, Adonai,
Redeemer of Israel.
Micha Mocha, page 20. rise.
Kuma Bezrat Yisrael, Ufidechnu Umecha, Yehuda veYisrael. Go Aleinu Adonai Tzevot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
We join in singing what the Israelites proclaimed after they had successfully crossed the sea. And we find in their redemption the strength to seek our own. This struggle carries us into the Amidah, a prayer of becoming, of transformation, of divine human partnership that brings grace into our lives and into our world. We'll find the Amidah, our standing prayer, on page 21.
Adonai sebatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, then my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu b'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'chocher Hasadavot V'imahot, U'mivekula Livnei Nenehem, U'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mehayeh HaKol Atara Le'Oshia, Mahdi HaRuach, U'Mari HaGashem, Mechokel Hayim B'Chesed, Mehayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Ve'Rofeh Cholim, U'Matir Ashurim, U'Mekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Milchamocha Al Kivurot, U'Midom Melach, Melech Memit, U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'na'am atah li'ot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mehayeh hakol.
And I'd like to invite up Abby and Colin to lead us in the responsive reading on page 23. There is holiness when we strive to be true to the best we know.
There is holiness when we are kind to others.
There is holiness when we strive for harmony in all of our relationships.
There is holiness when people of different backgrounds work together for a common future.
There is holiness when people seek justice and struggle for righteousness.
There is holiness when people create lasting poetry or song or philosophy.
There is holiness when we forget what divides us and remember what unites us.
Holy, holy, holy is Adonai our God.
Kedusha, page 24.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב היה נביאך, וקרא זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו, אדיר, אדירנו אדוני, במקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ורחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם,
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור.
Hallelujah. Get ready to repeat after me. Ledor vador.
לדור ודור,
Ledor vador.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גם לך.
Ledor vador.
לדור ודור,
Ledor vador.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גם לך.
ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. Here comes your part. לדור ודור.
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גם לך.
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גם לך.
כי המלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה. כי המלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We can be seated. Ruby, you and Emerson are going to lead us in the responsive reading on page 25.
From of old, the Jewish people have seen Shabbat as a unique gift, a token of its covenant with God.
Shabbat is the most cherished creation of the Jewish spirit and mirrors the essence of the Jewish soul.
Shabbat has never been merely a day of rest from labor. It has always been a break from the routine of everyday life.
Shabbat is a symbol of liberation and triumph, of the holy over the profane, of spirit over matter.
In every age, Shabbat afforded the Jew a sacred retreat, a haven of safety, a fountain of new strength and perpetual renewal.
Shabbat nurtures family life in love and harmony. A home at peace welcomes Shabbat with joy.
Shabbat is a part of nature's design. It's the purpose of everyday creation. All that was created attained in fulfillment in Shabbat.
Shabbat is our hope, the calm haven where all the weary find rest. With the coming of Shabbat, redemption and peace enter the world. Yismechu, page 26.
ישמחו במלכותך,
Shomrei, 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 Shabbat Behorik, Oneg Shabbat. Hands together. Yismechu b'malchutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat Behorik, Oneg Shabbat.
Two more times.
Yismechu b'malchutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat Behorik, Oneg Shabbat.
One time.
Yismechu b'malchutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat Behorik, Oneg Shabbat. Matilda, will you come on up and lead us on page 27 responsively?
Our world is full of wonders and miracles, but it all takes one little hand placed before our eyes and we see nothing.
The miracles are all around us and within us. We are each walking miracles.
When we are bruised, what miracle heals us? When we see beauty, what miracle elevates us? When we hear music, what miracle moves us?
When we see suffering, what miracle saddens us? When we give and receive love, what miracle warms us? When we pray, what miracle renews us?
Every springtime is a miracle. Every snowflake is a miracle. The thoughts we think, the words we speak, the hopes we cherish, each is a miracle.
For all these miracles, may your name be exalted and blessed forever and ever.
And then I'm going to ask Scott and Michelle to come on up and to lead us on page 28.
Our God, we know there's no greater gift than peace. Help us to find the peace that comes from the love of your Torah.
Inspire us to banish hatred, war, bloodshed, and bigotry. Help us to establish forever one human family doing your will in love and peace.
Help us find our peace in ourselves and among all people. O God of peace, bless us with peace.
You
have given us the power, O God, to bring peace and justice into the world. May we always love peace and pursue it, and love our fellow creatures. Fill us with kindness, wisdom, and love. Then shall we learn to live in peace. Blessed is God, teacher of peace.
Sim shalom sim, sim shalom sim, sim shalom tova uberachat sim shalom
Sim
shalom sim shalom sim shalom tova uberachat.
I would invite everyone to take a silent moment for your own private prayer, your own personal reflection. In these moments of silence, what is it that you hear? What is it that you want to both give and receive?
We meet together, Yehiyu L'Ratzon, page 30. Yehiyu L'Ratzon, Imrefi, Vehegyon Livi, Mefanecha, Adonai Tzuri,
Beautiful. On page 31, we have the parent blessing. So Sally and Angie and Lou, these words are taken from various places in the Talmud. And I suspect, having been part of many a bar and bat mitzvah here at Temple Emanu-El, you have heard these words many times. Lou and Angie, you've said these words at least once before with Mason. However, I suspect at this moment, regardless of how other people are hearing these words and feeling these words, that these will be extremely poignant and meaningful for you as you each bless your daughter.
May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for worlds still to come, and may you trust in generations past and yet to be.
May your heart be filled with intuition, and your words be filled with insight. May songs of praise ever be upon your tongue, and your vision be on a straight path before you.
May your eyes shine with the light of holy words, and your face reflect the brightness of the heavens. May your lips ever speak wisdom, and your fulfillment be in righteousness.
A Jewish home opens its heart, and its link to the generations is proclaimed. Today our child, nearly grown, is called to read from the Torah and is welcomed into the congregation. May this moment be blessed.
Hug, hug, kiss, kiss. Yeah, it's special. All right, friends, we're going to rise for our Torah service on page 32.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. U'devar Adonai mirushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'avan Yisrael v'kedushato. So here is that moment when each of you, Emerson and Ruby, will receive Torah not just from moms and dad, but from all of the generations that came before. And we are a Judaism that is a religion and a culture and a history that really takes our ancestry so very seriously and makes it so precious and so centered in how we practice our everyday Judaism. And I like to think of this as the Torah. We've talked about this before as kind of like a torch, right? That if you were to watch the Olympics, you'd see all the sprinters lighting the torch along the way, and then all of a sudden you'd get to the stadium and it'd be this ginormous big fire. And we've talked about how each of you, now as you become Benot Mitzvah, are in charge of that flame, and that it now becomes your responsibility to bring that Torah into your lives as young Jewish women, and then as you move through the years and you become adults into your families and their lives. And of course, we know that we see circling us, hugging us with love, even though they may not be physically present. Our grandparents watching from afar, Patricia and Sergio de los Reyes, and Marilyn Mendel. We feel you through the screen. And with us in the sanctuary, of course, we have Aaron and Gladys watching proudly. And of course, in spirit, holding everybody up, are John and Grover Mendel. And so in honor of all of those people, Louis, will you please go ahead and pick up the Torah? And Mom is going to give it a little kiss and touch, and then Louis, you're going to pass it to Emerson. And Emerson's going to hold it just for a moment. Feel that weight of the Torah. Beautiful. And then Sally is going to take it from you and place it in Ruby's arms. And Ruby's going to hold it for a moment. Feel that weight of the Torah. And then Ruby and Emerson, how wonderful it is that it's you as cousins, that you're so close, and that you get to hold on to this light, this Torah together as we continue on page 33. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadol Adonai iti, Uneromima Shemo Yachtav. And now's the time that our bat mitzvah families can undress the Torah. Lecha Adonai hagedula, v'hagevura, v'hatiferet, v'hanetzach, v'hahod. Ki hu b'shamayim u'va'aretz, ki hu b'shamayim u'va'aretz. Lecha Adonai amelacha, v'hamid na'aseh l'chol erosh. Look at that, your prose. I love it. So Emerson and Ruby, you both are chanting from the very first parsha of Exodus, also called Shemot. And Ruby and Sally, you can relax for just a minute. And Emerson, you are going to chant for us verses 1 through 12.
Everyone can be seated.
I always forget that.
That's all right. That's what I'm here for.
And we're going to call very proud brothers Ethan and Mason up to the bima for our first aliyah. Ya'amdu Aharon ben Label ve'Arabella, Moshe ben Label ve'Arabella, la'aliyah la Torah. The blessings are found on page 34.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher baharbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'eleh Shamot b'nei Yisrael haba'im mitrema et Yaakov Yishuveto ba'u Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Vesachar, Zebulun, Uvinyamin.
Beautiful. Yasher Koach and Ethan and Mason.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata betoheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
So, of course, Emerson and Ruby are chanting from Parshat Shemot, the very first one in Exodus. And of all the different benchmarks along the way today, perhaps the center one is this chanting from Torah, something that only adults in the Jewish community are permitted to do. This is something that Emerson, you and Ruby have been working on literally for many months in order to show at these moments. And for folks who are here, whether virtually or in person, no matter how many times you've seen this, I do not want you to forget that this is hard. This takes tons of work. Chanting in a language that's not native to you, doing it from the original with a scroll without cantillation marks or vowels. This is a tremendous accomplishment, and we are so proud of both of you for doing it.
We're going to keep going with our second aliyah, and we call up to our bima, our microphone, very proud grandparents Aaron and Gladys Goldberg. Ya'amdu Aharon ben Label, Rivka la'aliyah la Torah.
Baruch es Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher barhabanu mikol ha'amim v'notan lanu es Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Dan v'Naftali, Gad ve'Asher, Vayahi, Kol Nefesh, Yotzei, Yerech Yaakov, Shivim Nafesh, Ve'Yosef haya b'Mitzrayim, Vayamut Yosef, V'chol Echav, V'chol Hador Hahu.
Yasher Koach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Toras emes v'hayei olam nota v'sotenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Air hugs and air kisses. Very good. Beautiful. And I get to call proud mom and dad, Angie and Louis, up for our third aliyah. Ya'amdu Label ben Aharon v'Rivka, Arabella bat Avraham v'Sara la'aliyah la Torah.
Baruch hu et Adonai hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hambarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim. Venatan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Uvenei Yisrael paru vayishretzu vayirbu vayatmu bim'od me'od vatimaleh ha'aretz atam vayakam melech hadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada et Yosef v'yomer alamo hinei am b'nei Yisrael Rav yatsu mimenu.
Yasher Koach, Mom and Dad are up.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'kayei olam nata b'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Beautiful. And Mom and Dad are going to hang up there. And Emerson, just like we practiced, you're going to have a quick seat. Okie dokie. So Emerson, go ahead and have a seat next to Aunt Sally. Beautiful. So Emerson, this is the moment. Everybody always wants to know, well, we have this whole, transformation in a service. When is the actual moment that I become a bat mitzvah? It's right now. We call we use this word aliyah, and we say in aliyah haTorah. It literally means you are ascending to the Torah. So you are really demonstrating this physical ascension that is also spiritual. So it is really my pleasure to call you up to the bima as an official bat mitzvah. Talmud habachura habat mitzvah Rivka bat Lebo ve'Arabella la'aliyah Torah. Go ahead and you'll offer the blessing.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Hava nitcha kema lo pen yirbe v'haya ki tikrena milchama v'nosav gam hu also ne'enu v'nilcham banu ve'ala min ha'aretz v'yasimu alav sarei misim lema'an hanoto b'siblotam v'yahiven sarei miskenot lafaru et pitom ve'et Ramses v'cha'asher yanu oto ken yarbe v'chein yifrot v'yakutsu mipnei b'nei Yisrael.
Yasher Koach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Beautiful job. Okay, Emerson, standing right there, Mom and Dad, will you just take a half step back and put a hand on her shoulder? You're going to flank her. Okay, and Anderson, that's me. Emerson, will you look right at me, if you would, okay? And what we're going to do, I'm going to ask everyone to rise. Emerson, we are going to give you a special Misha Berach prayer for your spiritual growth. What you've done today is wonderful and incredible, and our hope is that you use this moment and this day and this time as a spiritual cornerstone for you to push off of so that you can go where it is that you're meant to go. So we'll do it in Hebrew and then in English. Mishaberach Avotenu v'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel v'Leah, Hu Yavarech et Rivka bat Label v'Arabella, Shehagia l'mitzvot la'Allah l'Torah, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Yismeireha v'chayeha, v'chonen et liba, L'hiot shalem im Adonai Elohecha, L'hagot b'Torato l'lecha b'drachav, v'lishmor mitzvotav, v'timsechen, v'seichel tov, v'enei Elohim v'adam, v'nomar. Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless you, Emerson, who's come up for an aliyah upon the age of mitzvot. May the Holy One guard you and sustain you, helping you to be wholehearted in your faith, studying God's Torah, walking in God's ways, and fulfilling God's mitzvot. May you find favor before God and all people. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Okay, and now Angie and Lou, if you will roll the Torah up a little bit, and you're just going to place the Torah cover on it for the moment. And I can ask everyone to be seated. Emerson, you've led us this morning beautifully.
Thank you.
You've chanted Torah beautifully. And now you're going to share words of Torah. This is your Devar Torah. This is essentially your sermon. You're taking the words of Shemot, this ancient text, and you're bringing it through the unique vessel that is Emerson Goldberg. We want to hear from you. You will teach us what these words mean both to our people throughout history and to you and our society today. Whenever you're ready.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My portion is the very first one in the book of Exodus. It starts where the book of Genesis left off. All of Jacob's sons came to Egypt to escape a famine in the land of Canaan. At the beginning of Exodus, Joseph dies, and so do his brothers. But when they die, so does the Pharaoh of their time. Then, after the Pharaoh dies, there becomes a new one. When the new generation of Jews start to multiply, the new Pharaoh thinks that the new generation of Jews will build an army and fight back to take all of his power. He decides to do something about it by asking two midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, to carry out his command of killing all male children born to an Israelite woman. Instead of following his orders, the women decide to secretly disobey him. Pharaoh ends up making a decree that all male newborn babies born of Israelite women should be taken from their mothers and thrown into the river. Moses, on the other hand, gets put in a basket by his mother Yocheved, who also sang to him and prayed to God that he would be saved. Miriam, his sister, is told to watch over him and see that by God's will he gets out of the river alive. He ends up at Pharaoh's doorstep, and Pharaoh's daughter ends up taking him in as his child, and Moses grows up Egyptian. He also grows up disconnected to his past, real family, and to the fact that he was born an Israelite. When he grows up, he finally connects the pieces about his true past and his true family. Now he really sees what he had never seen before. He finally sees all the pain that the Israelites had been feeling and all the torture that they had to go through. He had blocked it out before, but now he understands. Moses even ends up killing an Egyptian for hurting a Jew. After this happens, he runs away from the palace. Moses has opened his eyes to the harsh truth of the world he lived in. He saw the injustices that the Jews were facing for all those years and the true colors of the people he thought were his family. He came to realize the harsh truth that not everything is good in life and that we shouldn't pretend that it is. We have done the same thing this past year with all the problems that we have faced. With the Black Lives Matter movement, we have opened our eyes to the racism that has been happening in our country since we've been a country. Just how Moses opened his eyes to the oppression of Israelites for the past 400 years. It took something like George Floyd or Breonna Taylor to face the fact that we haven't done much to help. Exactly how Moses didn't see the oppression of the Israelites until one was being harshly beaten by an Egyptian right in front of his eyes. The last time I remember learning about a movement that had to do with racism in school this strong was the Civil Rights Movement, and even then, it took many murders to face racism then too. Many people have just realized how bad it is and are starting to help. Also, with LGBTQ+ people and how they're being very oppressed like the Israelites, their rights are being stripped away just like the Israelites were getting their rights stripped away by the Pharaoh. Only in the past decade have people just started to realize that LGBTQ folks are people too, that our gender and sexuality are not choices. LGBTQ+ Americans deserve the same rights just like anyone else. Now people can really see the other side to it, and aren't just blinding themselves with the false truth because that's what's easy and that's what they want to see. Lastly, another thing we've had to face is the coronavirus. After the global pandemic started, people were trying to lie to themselves about how it isn't true or that we don't have to wear a mask. People were and are still throwing parties and other irresponsible things because they don't want the virus to be true or just won't accept it. Now we are a country with over 7.3 million cases, so people are forced to accept that this is the world now and things may never be normal again. Though, since people are starting to see that, maybe we can fix it and get it under control. All these things have made me realize how blind we were before, but now's the time to change that, like Moses did with Israelites and the Pharaoh. In all these cases, our eyes have been opened to the real problems we face, but just talking about them won't change anything. In order to do that, we have to take action. You can help by signing petitions, voting in our elections, going to protests and rallies, learning more about the issue, and speaking up about it. To do these things, you can look online, talk to your friends and family about it, or use a platform to speak about it. You could even lobby your elected officials about these issues. Also, where it has to do with corona, you can social distance, wear a mask, wash or sanitize your hands, or stay away from parties or congregations. These are some of the things that I should be doing now that I'm a bat mitzvah and a young adult. Becoming a bat mitzvah means that I'm now a Jewish adult in the community. To me, this means I have moral and spiritual Jewish obligations to my community, and I plan on upholding many of them, such as reading from the Torah, following the 613 laws or mitzvot that come from the Torah, or even leading services. Now, I'm not going to buy a house or get married anytime soon, but it's good to know that it's legal for me to do if I want to in Israel. Also, because of my diagnosis of diabetes, I can no longer participate in fasting on Yom Kippur, but you can count on me to be doing it spiritually. I'll be doing many more things too. I'll make sure to lead more prayers during the holidays, be more involved with my synagogue, and learn more about my Judaism. I want to lead more prayers with my family because I think it's important to connect to my Judaism, to my family and friends. Also, I want to be more involved with my synagogue because it's important to connect and be a part of a Jewish community. I want to get involved with the high school youth group and do activities with them to meet new people. Lastly, I want to learn more about my Judaism because I will not be learning Hebrew or anything about my Judaism at school. So that responsibility falls on me. And I think it's important to know more about myself and my history so I don't forget that part of myself that's Jewish or any of the Jewish values. The one Jewish value that's most important to me is the golden rule, which means treat others the way you want to be treated. This one is very important to me because being a good and kind person is a very important characteristic to me for someone to have, and the golden rule is all about kindness. It's just thinking over how you want to be treated and show that to everyone you meet. If everyone thought that way, the world would be a much better place to live. I'm very thankful to learn much about these things in school. Another thing that we learn in school is different things about the state of Israel. In Hebrew, we learn facts about Israel and food and culture, which is all very interesting. But what I think is most important is how it pertains to me. We learn about that in Jewish studies and learn a deeper understanding of why the connection between Israel and ourselves is important. It's important because it's a part of our Jewish identity, and I want to have that part of myself. If I wanted to, I could even have a dual citizenship with Israel and the U.S. because even they want me to have that part of my heritage. At my school, when you're in 8th grade, you go on a trip to Israel in the spring to expand on anything and everything you want to learn about in Israel. I was really excited to go this year so I could know more, but it doesn't look like we'll be going because of COVID. Even though I'm sad I probably won't get to go, I'm very thankful that I didn't lose many things or my family lose many things in these hard times, whereas many other people did. That is why, with the help of the packaged good, I'll be sending care packages to those who may have lost their jobs, houses, or many other things. The least I could do is give them some toiletries. I'll be making some at home and sending them in to the people who now run it. I'm also very happy that I was given the opportunity to do good, and I'm also very happy to see all of you here or maybe online. Mom, first, I'd like to thank you for all you have done for today. I cannot tell you guys how many hours she spent to making my slideshow the best slideshow you'll ever see. And I'm so grateful for that, but I'd also like to thank you for all you've done for me the past 13 years. I couldn't have a better role model, so I want you to know how much I love you. Dad, you're the best dad a daughter could ask for. I love your jokes, your support, but most importantly, your love. I'm so glad that you're my dad, so thank you. Ethan, you're such a great brother to Mason and me. You're patient, charismatic, and full of love. Thank you for all the car rides that Mom made you take to pick me up from somewhere, and all the amazing healthy cuisine you've made for our family. I couldn't imagine you not being my brother. Thank you, and I love you. Mason, how do I describe Mason? Well, we fight quite a bit, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't die for each other. You're one of the greatest brothers I could ever have. I love you so much, so don't forget. Ruby, I wasn't going to do this because I didn't want to do cousins individually, but you're one of my best friends, and we're kind of sharing a bat mitzvah. Well, Ruby, I probably spent more time at your house with your family than at my house with mine. I love spending time with you and all of our sleepovers over the years. Don't forget, you also did a great job today, and I love you. Mazel tov. All my grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, you guys no doubt helped me so much with everything, and you've done so much for me, including my dinner, my bat mitzvah project, and your undying support. I love you guys. Next, I would like to thank my tutor, Joanne Lipschitz, Cantor Adesnik, Rabbi Max, and Rabbi Spike. Thank you guys for teaching me my Torah, my prayers, and my Devar Torah. I couldn't have done this without you. Finally, I'd like to thank all of my friends who have come online today to witness my transformation into a Jewish young adult. I want to thank everyone once again for watching this and for all the support. Thank you and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Emerson, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Blessed are you, our eternal God, who opens up the eyes of the blind, even our own eyes. Thank you so much for leading us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Family
Ruby.
swap. Beautiful. Ruby and Sally are going to come on up and go ahead and take the cover off. Excellent. And open up the Torah and find that second arrow and that fourth word from the right. As we call up for our first Aliyah, Stanley and Lori Goldberg, aunt and uncle. Ya'amdu Moshe ben Aharon v'Rivka, Dalila la'aliyah Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bar rabbanim mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. As we hear the continuation of the Exodus story, verses 13 through 22.
Amen. Va'avidu Mitzrayim, v'ho Yisrael b'fareh, v'yimhareru et hayahem b'avodah kasha, v'hover uv'aranim uv'hol avodah b'sadeh et kol avodatam asher avdu v'hem b'fareh, v'yomer melech Mitzrayim l'moladot ha'ivriot asher shem ha'ohat shifra v'shem hashenit puah.
Yasher Koach, Stanley and Lori. Amen. Air hugs and kisses.
If you want to just give me the...
Beautiful, and it is my pleasure to, along with very proud mom Sally, invite Aaron and Gladys back up to the bima for our second Aliyah. Ya'amdu Aharon ben Lebo, Rivka bat Aharon v'Rivka la'aliyah Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai Havarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher barak banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer, Vayaladahen, Atayivriot, Oritam, Alhav Naim, Ima Benahu, Vahamitain, Oto, Fim Bati, Vahaya, Fatirena, Hamiladot, Atayaladim, Velo Hasu, Gasher de Beralahan, Melamitraim, Vatayana, Atayaladim, Vahikra, Melamitraim, Lamaladot, Vayomer, Lehen, Maduisidan, Hadavar Hazeh. Vatayana, Atayaladim.
Yasher Koah. Whatever.
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tzokenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Hugs and kisses. Beautiful. And Ruby, so it's your turn now to have a seat. Yep, Mom is going to stay right up there, make sure the Torah and the Yad stay, and you're going to sit next to your uncle. And so I talked a little bit with Emerson about this amazing moment, right, Ruby? That you are literally physically demonstrating walking into becoming a bat mitzvah, making that aliyah. But also, both Ruby and Emerson, this is a real spiritual transformation. And lots of times we like to say, oh, you are elevating yourselves spiritually, which you are. But I also like to think of it as something that you are moving deeper into. And it's not just the two of you that are doing it, but really you are helping all of us to elevate and deepen our own Jewish spirituality. And for everybody who's watching, the very, very same thing. So I am now so excited to invite you back up to the bima as an official bat mitzvah. Tamad habachura habat mitzvah odem bat Rivka la'aliyah Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Havarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu Torah demet. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vatamarna hamiyaladot el paro ki lo kanashim hamitriot haivriot ki hayot ene v'terem tovo alehem hamiyaladet v'yaladu v'yetev Elohim hamiyaladot v'yerev im vatmo me'od v'hayei ki ur hamiyaladot et hayaladim v'lo hasu lahem maduasitan dvar hazeh. Paro lehol emo lemor ki habat tahayun tashlihuhu lehol habat tahayun.
Yasher Koar. And you'll make the blessing afterwards.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah temet v'hayei olam natu b'heinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Okay, standing right there. So before you close up, I want to do something while it's open. So Ruby, come right over there, right in front of the open Torah. Sally, a hand on her shoulder. I'm going to ask everyone to rise. That was actually a good demonstration. This is in front of the open Torah because we want the kavod and the power and all of the energy that comes from a 4,000-year tradition to go right from the words that you chanted so beautifully, Ruby, through your mom's embrace and the embrace of your family to you, to penetrate to your heart, right? That you really understand and feel the love and the connection that is just emanating from everybody right to you at this moment. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel v'Leah, hu yavarech et Odom, bat Rivka. Shehagia lemitzvot la'alta l'Torah, Hakadosh Baruch Hu yismirehu v'chayeha, v'chonon et liba, Yot Shalem im Adonai Elohecha. L'gop Torah to lalecha bidrachav lemitzmor mitzvotav v'tim sechen v'seichel tov be'enei Elohim v'adam v'nomar. Amen. O God, who blessed our forefathers and foremothers, bless you, Ruby, who's come up for an aliyah on the age of mitzvot. Ruby, may the Holy One guard you and sustain you, helping you to be wholehearted in your faith, studying God's Torah, walking in God's ways, and fulfilling God's mitzvot. May you find favor, Ruby, before God and all people, and let us say, Amen. Okay, and now, Sally, if you'll cover the roll and cover the Torah, and everyone can be seated. Ruby, you are going to share your words, your Devar Torah, and in doing so, bring forth and elevate the pieces of your Torah portion that really spoke to you. And having spent lots of time with you, I know that they really did speak to you. So this is where you get a chance to take the light of the Torah and the tradition, shining right through the crystal that is uniquely Ruby Mundell.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My Torah portion is Shemot from the book of Exodus. I have heard the story of Exodus every Passover growing up, so it's interesting to have the familiarity of the story. My section of the focus is on injustice. It starts off with the Pharaoh enslaving the Israelites and decreeing that the baby boys should be killed. Jochebed, Moses' mother, chooses not to follow the rules and instead to send her son down a river in a basket in hopes that he would be saved. Moses is found by Pharaoh's daughter and is brought up as an Egyptian. As Moses grows older, he sees the injustice done against his enslaved Israelite people, but through the perspective as a royal Egyptian with all the rights and privileges that come with that position. One day, Moses sees an Israelite slave being beaten by an Egyptian taskmaster. His first instinct was to walk away, but when he heard the man crying in pain, he knew he had to do something. Trying to protect the man, Moses lashes out and kills the Egyptian. He then buries the body in the sand. A few weeks later, Moses sees a fight between two Israelites, and he cannot understand why they're spending their energy fighting each other, and instead of the injustice they are experiencing. Moses attempts to stop them from fighting, but they turn to him and say, "Who are you to judge us? Are you going to kill us like you did that Egyptian?" So Moses knows that his deed is public, and so he runs away to the desert because he fears what the Pharaoh may do to him. While in the desert, wondering what to do with his life, Moses sees the daughters of Yitro trying to water their flock. But being harassed by local shepherds, Moses leaps to the rescue of the girls and draws water for the flock. In the story, the reader sees that Moses struggles with what to do, but despite reasons to mind his own business, he is compelled to act. Moses feels that he must stand up for others, even for those who cannot, will not, or won't stand up for themselves. I admire that Moses attempts to do the best he can for the people who are most in need. We all know it is not easy to stand up to injustice or educate others that they deserve more. When we think about abuse and slavery, most of us think of lands far away from centuries ago. But what if I told you there was a form of slavery here and it was happening right here in America, even in Atlanta today? I have viewed a few documentaries about child slavery, which is spreading throughout the world in my generation. This is a very important issue because it could happen to anyone, anywhere. I saw girls get taken when they were their most vulnerable around my age. Few girls escape, but when they do, most of them have nowhere to go after. There is not much we can do to stop this, but one small act can lead to major changes. My family have donated $500 to help these girls find their homes, and we have also raised $4,000 from all of you guys donating. Later today, I will host a donation drive-by where you can drop off more canned foods at our house to help us feed these girls who need our help. There is an organization here in Atlanta called Wellspring Livings that we will be donating to. In my parsha, God tries to convince Moses 5 times to go to the Pharaoh to ask him to free the Israelites. But Moses didn't think he could do it. He thought he was not good enough, that he did not know enough, that he didn't even have the skills to even speak. Our sages tells us that Moses, the man who God chose to represent him, actually had a speech impediment. Yet Moses heard the call of how to address the injustice of his land. And God's response to Moses was, essentially, I know what you can do better than you do. You are not alone. I am with you. And so will lots of other good people once you lead the way. Moses isn't so different from me, or you, or us. I ask myself who I am to stop child slavery. I don't have many resources to stop anything, but I can speak up and demand awareness. I ask all of you guys to stand up to this injustice together, like Moses and Aaron, to help spread awareness. I once asked my mom, why are we Jewish? She responded with, because that's what God chose for us, and it was passed down from our ancestors. However, we can also choose to be Jewish. I chose because God and my Jewish community was there for me when I needed them the most. Again, I asked her, why am I having a bat mitzvah? She replied, that is your choice. It was my decision if I wanted to become a bat mitzvah. Well, I thought the party was my motivation. I have found through this challenge that I've learned more about who I am and that I want to help others. Becoming a bat mitzvah means that I'm now an adult in the Jewish community. I will start fasting on Yom Kippur, and I will attend more services. When we think about abuse and slavery, most of us think of lands far out from centuries ago. Services during the holidays. The most important Jewish value to me is giving tzedakah. I think it is important to take care of one another and to help each other thrive. If our population doesn't care for each other, then we will all fall. Also, my connection to Israel is important to me. Israel is my history. It is what I'm taught about every day in school, and it is an amazing country. My ancestors were from there, so it is an important part of me. I have been to Israel once, and next year, if COVID passes, I hope I can go again. I stayed in Israel for 10 days and traveled with Temple Emanu-El, my family, and my grandparents. It was an amazing experience and traveled all throughout the country with the time we could. I'm very proud that I have learned and studied my piece of the Torah and am now a Jewish adult. Emerson, Uncle Lou, and Auntie Angie, thank you for sharing this special day with me. It has been an amazing 13 years that I have shared with Emerson. I know it will be even better in the future. Next, thank you to Mrs. Margles, Rabbi Spike, and Cantor Odesnik for teaching me. I can also count on my friends to correct me whenever they hear me read, so I know what to say, even when I don't ask for it. I love you guys. Thank you to my grandparents, Gladys and Aaron Goldberg, or in my case, Gigi and Papa, for supporting me. Also, thank you to Marilyn Mundell, who is watching me from Colorado. Natalia, I know you're not biologically my sister, but I'll always think of you like that. My sister Matilda always stayed quiet when I was studying, but only after she made sure to be loud. You've influenced me to being the person I am today. I wish my dad could be here with us on this day, but instead I know he's watching over me from above. Lastly, thank you to my mom, who has helped me through everything that I have accomplished throughout this year, like fixing the internet connection to get on my Zoom calls. She's always believed in me even when I was little. I love you all, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Ruby, for those words. Really, thank you for your insight and your leadership. All right, Cantor, Haftorah?
Yes,
Okay.
page 36 and 37, you'll find our blessings, and we'll invite both Ruby and Emerson back up to our bima. And Ruby will lead us off with our blessing on page 36.
We're going Isaiah 28.
Yes.
And through 29:23.
Yes.
Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'nvi'im tovim va'izrat v'devarim hanerim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habahir b'torah u'v'mashiach du u'Yisrael amo u'v'yeh ha'emet v'tzedek. Bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai Tzevaot la'ateret tzevi velitzvirat tifara lishar amo uleruach mishpat leyoshev al mishpat משפט ולי גבורה משיבי מלחמה שרה וגם אלה ביין שגו ובשחר טעו כהן בן אבי שגו בשחר נבלעו מן היין טעו מן השחר שגו ברועה פקו פליליה כי כל שולחנות מלאו כי צואה בלי מקום את מי יורד דעה ואת מי יבין שמועה גמולי מחלב עתיקי משדיים כי צב לצב צב לצב קו לקו קו לקו זה עיר שם זה עיר שם.
Beautiful. And Ruby, your turn.
כי וירתו ילדיו מעשה ידי בקרבו יקדישו שמי וקדישו את קדוש יעקב ואת אלוהי ישראל יריצו.
Yasher Koach, and we can find our blessings on page 37. Emerson will go ahead and lead us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol ha'olamim tzadik b'chol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh ha'medaber u'mkayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek al Torah v'al avodah v'al nevi'im v'al yom Shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limenucha lechavod yitzifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umevarchim otach yitbarach shimcha befi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Page 39, Eitz Chaim.
Eitz Chaim hi
Lama
lamachazikim ba v'tov v'checha me'ushar derachecha darchei olam v'chol netivotecha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuha Chadesh Chadesh Aleinu Chadesh Aleinu kekedem.
So Ruby and Emerson, Cantor and I have said it before, but it really is worth repeating. Of all the things that we get to do as clergy here at Temple Emanu-El, including high holidays and ruckus Friday nights and even weddings, what we've been doing with you over the past many months is absolutely our most favorite thing. And that is getting to know you at a pretty deep level and studying Torah Lishma, study for the sake of higher thought, higher thinking. I'm going to say things a little bit differently than I usually do. I hope you see the context of this. You two are part of an incredible family, an incredible large family that's both close and loud, which is amazing. And your family has welcomed my family, the Anderson family, into your homes and into your lives in a way that we haven't seen since we moved to Atlanta. I want to focus on two folks in your family who are clearly the matriarch and patriarch, all right, Gladys and Aaron. And by talking about them, I'm hoping that you'll see the values that I think are so important that clearly your parents and your uncles and your aunts and your cousins all received together. When we first moved here, Cantor had put on a concert, I think through the Jewish Music Festival in the very front of the building. And so this is 6 years ago. And Ruby, you and Matilda were there with your grandma. And you were sitting at a table, and I guess I had my kids without my wife that day and was looking for something to do and was probably a little bit over my head. And I came here, and your grandmother saw me, and we didn't know each other. And she said, "Would you like to come sit with us?" And so we sat down, and my kids saw that your grandmother had provided serious snacks for you guys. And they started looking at me like, "Where are our snacks?" And of course, I'm the worst dad in the world because I didn't bring any snacks. It didn't even cross my mind. And your grandmother looked at me and said, "Would your kids like to have some of these snacks?" Right? And these were bags and bags and bags of snacks. And it's that type of hospitality and openness and welcome that in part defines your family. Right? I've been to Michael and Tommy's Ann's house and seen how Michael watches the pool very carefully when everybody's in there to make sure everybody's okay. And Tommy Ann, even with an infant in her arms, is so gracious and welcoming. Right? I've seen your aunts and uncles at religious school who are, and they're always so positive and enthusiastic about life and dropping their kids off for a Sunday afternoon and having a Sunday morning. Right? I know your moms and dads. Right? I know your families well. Ruby, when your grandparents brought you and Matilda and Sally to Israel, that was beginning of something really special. And Emerson, if you aren't able to go this year with Davis, I hope you are, but if you're not, we'd like to take you soon. Okay? There are ways to get you to Israel. I played doubles with Lou and Stan and Aaron. I've been the fourth. They were nice enough to include me in that. I've also, of course, played against your grandpa, who I call the Lob Father, and seen how every time, what a character he is, right? An amazing guy. Every time I start to get any traction, he distracts me by introducing me to everybody else on the court. And if that doesn't work, talking politics with me. I've seen how your grandma and grandpa run the doctor's office. I've seen how they care for not just about everybody who comes into their lives, that they are always available. They are healers. They are so kind and compassionate. And that comes forth with your family gatherings, right? The holidays and 4th of July and sports events. You two are so, so lucky to be surrounded by all this love. And Sally, if there's a house on your cul-de-sac that opens up, I want to move next to you and Stan. I just want to be a part of things. Emerson, you talk beautifully in your Devar Torah, and what I most got from it is that you are not afraid, or at least you're open to the idea of speaking truth to power. Speaking truth, first of all, is a very hard thing to do. And then speaking truth to power. What's the power? Social pressure, right? The environment that we're in. When I hear from people that we ought to worry about the Jewish future, and I hear what you and Ruby had to say, I'm actually not so worried. I actually think we're in very, very good hands with the leaders that you both are and that you are merging to be. So keep that up. Really keep it up. Ruby, Moses didn't think he could do it. Right? Who am I? I'm just a guy. I've got, some speech impediment. Who am I to go do anything? No one's going to listen to me. And you said it. God essentially says, hey man, I know what you can do better than you do. And you have great things ahead of you. Use this, Ruby. Use this, Emerson, for the momentum, for the confidence, for the encouragement to take you from here to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Cantor and I are so proud of you both. We love you both and your family very, very much. And we can't wait for you to get more involved in your synagogue and your Judaism and taking ownership over the Jewish life of your family and your community. So congratulations and mazel tov on what has been an amazing morning.
Thank you.
Ruby and Everson, wow. I just want to focus very quickly on two values that I think each of you emulate, and that is insight and perseverance. Each of you came to this process with trepidation and excitement and nervousness, and it was beautiful to watch as each of you took on your own individual challenges and just rose beyond them with just a maturity and with grace. And not only each of you on your own, but together. And I really got to experience the amazing love that you have for each other. And so I hope that you always hang on to that love and that relationship. And I am so grateful that I've really gotten to spend different kinds of time with each of you. Emerson, I got to bar mitzvah Ethan, and then I got to bar mitzvah Mason, and so I got to literally watch you, from yay high to now you're taller than me. And
the bar is low.
What?
The bar is low.
Yeah, I know. Yes. But I also have gotten to hear, oh my gosh, your beautiful voice. Your beautiful voice that you just let shine through today. And every once in a while I would look up and, oh, you know that one, and want you to sing more. So I really look forward to doing that with you. And Ruby, I've gotten to know you as you, Matilda, every Davis Shabbat. I would roam the social hall and find the two of you because I knew that I could always get you to come up and sing with me on the bima. And Ruby, I know Matilda was a little bit more enthusiastic about that, but you always did it too. And I just really loved how you just took up, it's not so easy for everybody to learn how to chant with Hebrew in a completely different language that, seems to go backwards from English, and watching you embrace that and progress so beautifully and do the job that you did today is really, really incredible. So for each of you, take that insight, take that perseverance, and just grow with it and shine. And mazel tov to each of you. I cannot wait to see the amazing things that each of you are going to do.
Thank you.
So now I would ask everyone to rise, and we are going to give Ruby and Emerson the priestly benediction. This is what our rabbis and cantors have been doing with our youth at this liminal point of time since time began.
Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka.
May God's countenance shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha Shalom.
May God's face turn towards you, Ruby. May God's face turn towards you, Emerson. And may you each feel like you do right now, surrounded by the people who love you the most, Torah and tradition encompassing you, holding you up, the Ner Tamid, the light of the Jewish people above your heads, leading, feeling, connecting your whole lives ahead of you. May you feel this sense of wholeness, completeness, and peace. And we say,
Amen.
Amen. Okay, we can all be seated unless you are a parent of a bat mitzvah, in which case you'll stay up there. That's all right. And this is where you guys get to say some nice things about your daughter.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, so first I want to thank all the rabbis. Rabbi Spike and Rabbi Max both helped Emerson with her Devar Torah, and the cantor, who was amazing, very patient with us through the whole process. I also want to thank Sally and Etty Lazarian in her kitchen for being my partners in crime in this whole process. Emerson, Dad and I are so proud of how well you did today, leading the congregation in prayer, chanting from the Torah, and most importantly, interpreting the deeper meaning of your portion and thoughtfully applying its lessons to your own life. Then again, you have always been wise beyond your years. I guess Dad and I somehow knew that you would be, even before you were born, which is why we named you after such a wise poet. And like him, you have chosen a path of quiet reflection, understanding, and the pursuit of wisdom. Without even realizing it, you have taken to heart the wise words of your namesake. Let us be silent that we may hear the whisper of God. And even with all the pressure early on to play sports, like the rest of the family, you chose to be true to yourself and forge your own way, filled with the things that you love, like music and dance, poetry and theater. And even though life has thrown you a multitude of proverbial curveballs, or to use a theater analogy and possibly quick costume changes, you have faced them all with courage and grace and that beautiful, dimpled, irresistible smile. You are brave and strong and fierce. You stared down type 1 diabetes the way Miyagi-Do stares down Cobra Kai. I am so proud of you for so many reasons, but the thing I'm most proud of is the way you've always stayed true to yourself. Like Ralph Waldo says, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. You seem to know this at the young age of 8 when you wrote the poem, Believe in Yourself. Just believe in yourself, you said. Do what's right. Believe in yourself. Fight the good fight. Believe in you and what you do. You don't have to be a cool cat. If you want, just do math. You were 8. It's okay, be yourself. Let your funny out. Don't care what anyone thinks. That's not what it's about. Believe in yourself. It's working so far. Everyone wants to be popular, but don't change who you are. Believe in yourself, because I believe in you. This poem is such a great example of not just how much you believe in yourself, but how much you believe in others, and how much you care about inspiring them to believe in themselves. You have such a big heart, and you are a truly awesome friend. The quality and maturity of your friendships is an inspiration to all of us girls. There's no drama, no pettiness. Everybody truly has each other's backs. I'm so proud of how you've navigated the middle school years with such integrity and kindness. You and your friend group demonstrate the true meaning of friendship, lifting each other up, cheering each other on, always being a shoulder to cry on, or at least a Zoom call to cry on, making sure no one ever feels alone, and always being there no matter what. Tenacity.
You mentioned perseverance. That's another quality you possess in spades. What other 12-year-old girl insists on auditioning for the school play from her hospital bed in the midst of diabetic ketoacidosis? And then, after convincing everyone to go along with this crazy plan to let her audition from her hospital bed, what other 12-year-old girl manages to land the lead role? Emerson, you have shown us time and time again that you can and will do anything you set your mind to. And watching you chase your dreams is truly awe-inspiring. But at the end of the day, all these qualities only capture a small fraction of what makes you so very special, Emerson. You are so much more than the wise, mature, brave, loving, compassionate, kind, loyal, tenacious young lady I've described today. You are Emerson, and there's no one else like you. You have so much more to offer the world, and I am blessed, humbled, and proud to have a front row seat to watch it all unfold. Now, this is the part where I give advice, but my wish for you is simply this. Continue to live your life with purpose and authenticity. Continue to be the kind of friend you want to have as your own. Continue to pursue your dreams with confidence and tenacity. And of course, make sure to always calibrate your Dexcom with a manual glucose meter. In other words, just keep doing what you're doing, for the most part. And finally, I want to end with a poem that I wrote for you a while back. At the time, I believe you said, and I quote, "This is very sweet, but it kind of sounds like a 5-year-old wrote it." I don't disagree, but a speech about poetry needs to end with a poem. And this one perfectly captures how I feel about you. I am thankful for Emerson Lilly because she is kind, generous, and sweet. Her singing and dancing are a treat. Sometimes at night she rubs my feet. She has a heart of gold, one of a kind, there is no mold. Gentle and loving, but also bold. The best daughter, sister, cousin, friend. Her thoughtful gestures have no end. She writes sweet letters she'll never send. She is so special, there's only one. We know we've been blessed a ton to have an amazing gift like Emerson.
I love you too, Dad.
Okay, I had written a poem too, so now I'm gonna have to ad-lib something to put in there. So this is actually started Emerson and Ruby. I mean, you guys are both amazing today. We are so proud of both of you, and not just for leading this service with poise and excellence, which you did.
Do a little closer.
You might want to come to the...
Little closer up.
A little closer?
Yeah.
Okay. But for the young ladies that you have grown into, you're both beautiful on the inside and outside, and it's fitting the two of you are able to share your B'nai mitzvah today. I know this wasn't the mitzvah that you had originally imagined, but you've handled the situation with your typical grace. And even though they aren't able to be here in person, there's a sanctuary full of people on the internet that are just as proud of you and as impressed with you as I am. You are both special to so many people, and while they can't be here physically, your army of friends and family are still here in spirit supporting you both. Of course, you have an amazing extended family, which Rabbi has referenced a few times, that are allowed to be here cheering you on. Your siblings, cousins, uncles, aunts, Papa and Gigi are your biggest fans today and will be throughout your life. Emerson, when your mom and I decided to flip a coin, having a third child, hoping for a daughter, we never realized we wouldn't just win that coin toss, but win the lottery at the same time. You're sweet and kind, determined and hardworking, talented and accomplished. And the best daughter we could have, and the best sister to your brothers. And we love you so much, and congratulations on your amazing day.
Lewis wasn't supposed to be the sentimental one. Ooh, Emerson and Ruby, you both did so beautifully today, and I'm so proud of both of you. L'adore vador, from generation to generation, today you exemplified the resilience of our people. Loss, dyslexia, diabetes, and even COVID couldn't stop the two of you. These challenges have only made you both into the strong young ladies you are today. We are so fortunate to have an amazing community, temple, and family that have helped you get to this very moment. Thank you to Rabbi Spike, Cantor Dusnick, and Tutor Barbara for supporting Ruby to become a bat mitzvah. Thank you to my family. These times can be bittersweet for our Mundell trio, but being able to do this with Emerson, Lewis, and Angie, and the rest of the family reminds us that we will always be surrounded by love. My dear Ruby, I thought about giving you advice today, but we both know Ruby is always right and doesn't need my advice. Instead, I decided I wanted to thank you for choosing me to be your mom and to celebrate you and all the gifts you bring to the world. From the day you were born, kicking and screaming, when the nurse who had delivered thousands of babies at Northside told me, "You got yourself a feisty one," to the last 13 years of you bringing rays of light into the world, I'm honored to be your mother. While you had just an amazing accomplishment today, and you should be so, so proud, and I wish your father was here, and he would be so proud of you and know that his love and his spirit is here with you. I hope you know that you are so much more than what you accomplish. Simply by being who you are brings light into the world. As you know, your father was much better with words. He was a poet than I'll ever be. But he wrote a poem for me on the night before our wedding that many of you have heard that I thought I would steal to help me communicate the love and beauty you bring to me and to everyone else around you. I made some tweaks to it, so give me some leeway. It's called Suddenly. If I could take every kind and thoughtful thing you have ever done or created for anyone, such as 30 days of birthday gifts for Leah, or 365 days of uplifting sayings written on fortune cookie to brighten my day, fortune cookie paper to brighten my day, or handmade family trees for Gigi, or little outfits and toys for Puff our dog, or a surprise birthday for your sister, or handmade personalized gifts for teachers. If I could capture the moments when I have had a rough day and you have jumped on my back and wrestled me to the ground, reminding me of joy, giggles, and laughter, or when you notice someone sad and you crack a joke to brighten their day. If I could wrap up the conversations, even at a young age, with you, where you have challenged the way I view the world, helping me grow as a person and as a mother. If I could bottle up the way you experience the world, when you cry when you see a dog hurt on TV, when you notice a beautiful butterfly that lands on a bush, when you stand at the edge of the rocks in the Garden of the Gods, challenging nature by peering over the edge and almost giving me a heart attack, or when you linger just to watch a beautiful sunset. If I could take it all and compress it into a single essence, into the essence of Ruby, and if I could give it to the world, then suddenly I will say we are even. Because you, my dear, have already shared your beauty with me, your sister, and everyone who knows you. And our lives are so much richer because you are in it. You are a gift to this world. My blessing for you is that you realize how amazing the essence of Ruby is, and that you always return to it if you lose your way. I love you more than you'll ever know.
Okay, everybody, let's rise, please. Elenu can be found on page 40, and I'd ask siblings who are up there to join our Benot Mitzvah, Sally and Lou and Angie. We're going to open the Torah Ark. Everybody turn around. Walk up to the Ark. Okay, and now we're going to open the Ark.
Aleinu l'shaveach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gedula le'yotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot velo zamanu, כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, ולפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
We'll gently close the ark. And the entire family, please come as a group to the bema. Everybody else can be seated for a moment. So Emerson and Ruby and that Torah pass, Cantor talked about the generations who have passed, but who we believe are here. Your family, especially on this joyful day, invokes the name and memory of John Mundell, Grover Mundell, Vivian and Louis Goldberg. And by invoking their names and their memories, we actually raise up this type of time even more. We Jews believe that they are here right now. They are here with us, and they are smiling because of what you've done, because of what you're doing, because of what we are doing and what you are leading us to do. Friends, if you are in the Shloshim period of mourning, the first 30 days mourning a loved one's burial, please rise. If you are in the first year of mourning a loved one's passing, please rise. If you are commemorating the yahrzeit, the death anniversary of a loved one's passing this Shabbat, please rise. And if it is your custom to rise either in solidarity or for those who have no one to say Kaddish for them, please rise now. Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 41. Yit gadal v'yit kadash me rabbah, ve'alma divrach irtei ve'amlich machutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, v'galav yizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam olamei amaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit roman v'yit naseh. V'yit alel v'yit alel shmei v'yikbrichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata v'hush b'charta v'nechamata dami ram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Hosei shalom b'imrumav. Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen.
Hoseh shalom, b'imrumav. Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Let's join together.
Hoseh shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Okay, whole family, you're going to shift to your left. Shift, 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 shift. Everybody to your left. Okay, Lou, will you facilitate picking up Kiddush cups, making sure each of our bat mitzvah has one? Friends, we are sanctifying not only this event, but the day with Kiddush.
We raise up our glasses and say together, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim l'bracha, to life with blessings. Okay. And And then Emerson and Ruby, will you pick up that Torah, holding it between the two of you? I'm sorry, Torah, the challah. Pick up the challah. Okay, and you want to take off the cover. Okay, and everybody with a nice, loud, raucous rendition of Hamotzi. Here we go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam,
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Siman tov
Mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Elanu, 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 U'lechol Yisrael. Elanu, Elanu, U'lechol Yisrael. Elanu, Elanu, U'lechol Yisrael. Elanu, Elanu, U'lechol Yisrael. Mazel tov, everybody. Shabbat shalom. Mazel tov.